Hello and welcome to the Classroom Connection, the show that takes you inside Marion County Public Schools. I'm Kevin Christian, and coming up today, we've got a pretty special show lined up for you. We'll show you what the annual Read-In is all about. We'll go back in time to a real one-room schoolhouse right here in our own backyard. And then you'll meet one media specialist who loves what she does for our district. Up first, though, November 6th is a big day right here in Marion County for our public school system. That's when you as voters elect a brand new superintendent to lead our school system. Two people vying for the job, Dr. Diana Greene and George Tomyn, are both longtime educators in Marion County, and they each join us now in separate segments to share their perspectives on public education in Marion County. First up, Dr. Diana Greene joined our district in 1986 as an elementary school teacher, and she rose through the ranks of assistant principal, and then executive director of staff development. But for the last 9 years, we've known her as the deputy superintendent of curriculum and instruction. So, Dr. Greene, great to see you today.
Thank you, Kevin. It's good to see you.
Now, let me ask you this right off the bat. Why are you sure you want this job?
Well, you know what? I don't know that anyone is ever sure. But I know that I've been called to run for this position. And I've been called because over the last 9 years, everything that I've done has been for the children of Marion County. And as a mom, I want the best for both of my boys. And so if I want that for my boys, I know every parent wants it for their child. And we need to deliver that for every student. And I just feel we need to maintain that momentum that we've started and continue to move forward in the things we've done. And that's why I'm running for superintendent of school.
You have one son who's already graduated. You have one son at Forest. He's a senior this year?
Senior,
Senior
yes.
this year. So after this year, two college sons.
Yes,
All
two
right.
college.
Well, high-stakes testing is a political buzz phrase that we've heard a lot about these days. I'll ask you a two-part question. Do you think we test too much, and what will you do about it?
Well, that first question is actually a two-part question. Do you mean, do we test too much on the state level, or do we test too much local and state level?
I think most parents just think testing is testing.
Yes, but the high stakes of our state test is at a level that we must ensure that every student has an opportunity to be successful. It is so difficult to face a parent and tell them your child is being retained because of a state test. That test in third grade, reading, is the first red flag for a student to be retained in third grade. Yes, we have enough avenues to help students matriculate onto the fourth grade, but many of those avenues require that students are assessed throughout the year, that we can prove that one day, that one test day, really doesn't reflect what that student knows, that we have enough documentation or enough evidence, and we call it preponderance of evidence, that the student knows the curriculum and the content that they deserve to be moved on to the fourth grade. So do we test too much? Probably yes, we probably do test too much, but the stakes are so high that we cannot afford to give our students every opportunity to show that they know the content. What we do locally are small formative assessments. I think when people hear testing, they think that we're giving an assessment the size of FCAT every month, and that is not the case. It is a much smaller assessment focused on one or two concepts to see what the teacher has done for the last 3 weeks. Has the student learned that information?
More like a chapter test.
Right, more like a chapter
versus
test.
A test on the whole book.
Yes.
We hear a lot about parent involvement these days, and a lot of parents simply can't be as involved perhaps as they once were because they're working to make ends meet. How do you engage more parents, and how do you spark more action from those parents?
I think we have to meet them where they are. Part of my platform is I want to develop community advocate boards, and the needs of the parents in Marion Oaks might be just a little bit different than the needs of the parents in Reddick Collier community, or Dunellen versus Bellevue. And by having these community advocate boards, it gives parents an avenue to share their concerns, such as bullying. That's a big social issue we deal with day in and day out. And parents come with different perspectives about what does that mean. the advocate board could be an opportunity that we can engage parents in that discussion, and that we can have other advocates, not advocates just for the parents, but advocates for the school system.
Right.
I think a lot of times it's all about miscommunication, perception or misperception, and we just don't have enough opportunities to engage our community. I think the Alert Now system, which I'm sorry, I know it has a new name.
Connect 5.
Connect 5 is another way that you know, you do the message, be there. And it's amazing how many parent phone calls I get. And the first thing they said, well, I'm calling because somebody from the school system says, be there for my child. And that's what I'm trying to do. So the message is getting out. Yeah. And so now we got to add to that message. How about we be there? We got to come together and say, we're here as a team for your child. And how can we work together?
Now, by law, the superintendent is the legal secretary, if you will, for the school board. What's your approach to bring back more control to the local level for the school board and our school district?
Well, that's going to take a community effort. That's the superintendents, if you remember, several years ago, went up to Tallahassee trying to get more control back at the local level. And there was a consequence for that. Yes, they lost 2% pay cuts. They decided to cut their pay. And guess what? It's still worth it to do it. But it takes more than superintendents. It takes the local school board. It takes the parents. It takes outside organizations from such as United Way or business organizations, the Chamber of Commerce. It takes all of us to tell Tallahassee, enough is enough. There are some things that need to happen in Marion County that don't need to happen in Dade County, or there's things that need to happen in Dade County that don't need to happen in Marion County, right. But we need to have that flexibility to be able to implement whatever our county sees as the best road for success for our students.
I got 2 questions left for you.
Yes.
Who's most important here? Students, staff, taxpayers, or voters?
Students are always number one.
Okay. And what's your number 1 goal for your first 90 days in office?
My number 1 goal is to articulate our vision to our internal staff. You know, we have 6,000 employees, and we need to ensure that those 6,000 employees know the direction in which we're going, that they have an active knowledge about where Marion County Public Schools is headed for. And that would be my first priority in the first 90 days.
Dr. Greene, thank you for joining us today.
You're welcome.
I know the campaign trail has been long and hard at times, and it's not over yet, but good luck in these last few weeks.
Well, thank you, Kevin, and I appreciate it.
Well, up next, you're going to hear the same questions posed to George Tomyn, our second candidate for superintendent of schools. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Hey kids, here's your chance to be a math or reading superstar and walk the red carpet with TJ Ticket and VBot. The 2 students with the most usage hours on Ticket to Read or VMath Live by New Year's will win $25 gift cards. And the classrooms with the most hours will win pizza parties with TJ Ticket or VBot. The contest is open to students at these 29 schools. All you need is an internet connection. VMath Live is open to grades 2 through 5 and Ticket to Read is open to K through 5. That's $25 for the students with the most hours and a pizza party for the classrooms with the most hours. But you've only got until January 2nd, so get going.
Welcome back. George Tomyn joined our district in 1977 as a middle school teacher, and he rose through the ranks as a basketball coach, assistant principal, and principal. Since 2005, though, he has been the executive director of school development and evaluation, working primarily with our principals and their leadership abilities. And Mr. Tomyn joins us now. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for having me today.
First question right off the bat is, why are you sure you want to be superintendent?
That's a great first question that we're often asked on the campaign trail. I feel that I'm uniquely positioned to be in this particular position. You've already given a little bit of my biographical sketch. It, I think, shares that I know Marion County from top to bottom. I am comfortable with Marion County. I love Marion County schools, and I believe that I am in the right position to lead our fantastic workforce in that direction, in the right direction as superintendent.
Right. High stakes testing. It's a political buzz phrase, if you will, these days. Do we test too much, and what will you do about it?
Certainly here in Marion County, we are going to do what the state requires us to do as far as testing is concerned. And we will do what is required of us. However, I think in Marion County we do do more testing than we are required to do. Certainly we need to have some benchmarks along the way. Certainly we need to know how our students are doing. We need to assess our students, but I think we do way too much. Our teachers tell us we're doing too much. Our parents are telling me their students are tested too much, and students are telling me. If we listen to our constituency, I think we would realize that we are testing locally way too much.
All right. We hear a lot about parent involvement these days, and many parents simply aren't as involved perhaps as they once were because they're working to make ends meet. So what's your idea to spark more action from parents?
We certainly need to have every avenue possible for parents to communicate with our schools. We have some fantastic new technology things now with telephones, with email, and certainly that is a way for a teacher to be in touch with a parent and a parent to be involved. But we certainly want our parents, whenever possible, to actually come to a Marion County school, see what's going on, see the great things on our school campuses. Certainly when we have school programs that children are involved in, parents have a tendency to come in and attend those programs more. And we certainly need to encourage our schools to continue to do that. But I think with modern communication techniques, we certainly have a wide variety of ways to involve parents, two-way communication, and it certainly needs to be emphasized with all of our schools and all of our parents.
Now, as you know, the superintendent legally is the secretary of the Marion County School Board. So with that thought in mind, what are you going to do to try to bring more control back to the local level and out of state hands for our school board?
I have been asked that question also, and since I am not familiar with the political process in Tallahassee, I'm very comfortable with Marion County. I think that we need to get more involved with our state legislature. At this morning's board work session, we saw that a legislative agenda has been prepared. I have heard stories about some of our local school communities taking busloads of children up to Tallahassee to lobby our legislators there. And I also think we need to take advantage of the fact that our legislators are not in Tallahassee 12 months of the year. They are here a great deal of the time, and while they are here, we can certainly network with them to share with them our concerns and ideas about our school system.
Marion County Public Schools touches a lot of people in Marion County. I like to say there's nobody that our school district doesn't affect in some way, shape, or form. So with that thought in mind, who's most important here? Students, staff, taxpayers, or voters?
Come on, that's not even a loaded question. Students are the most important thing that we need to focus on, because students are going to be taking care of taxpayers one of these days at any rate. We have to focus on our students. Certainly our workforce is very important, and we have to protect the rights and the investments of our taxpayers. So everybody's important. It was interesting, this morning I was riding to work, and I was coming to work at a different time, and I saw all the traffic on the roads, and I thought, okay, this is a school day. How many people are actually on the road today as a result of schools being in session today? When you think of 42,000 students, 6,000 employees, 6 or 8, maybe 10,000 parents or grandparents taking their children to and from school, that's 60, 70, or 80,000 people that are on the roads each and every day that we have school going on. That's a powerful number.
Absolutely. Budget. Lots of cuts lately. Last few years, but just kind of with that in the back of your mind, how much money is enough to educate our kids?
I don't know the exact answer to that. I would like to be the superintendent and manage the budget cycle completely one time before I answer that question. I will tell you that I believe that we have enough funds, enough revenue now to adequately educate our children. I do think that we could do more if we had more revenue. However, I also believe that we need to manage the resources that we have at hand. And I believe that we do have an adequate funding source right now. What we need to do is focus on our teaching workforce and our support workforce. Those folks are the ones that are really doing the work in our system, and we need to take care of those people.
Public relations, it's something I do for a living and something the superintendent is involved with 24/7. With that in mind, what's your PR plan to convince Marion County residents that our public schools are great?
I think you're going to see an awful lot of this superintendent in our community. I've already told you Marion County is my home. It's a wonderful place to live. It's where I've raised my children. I'm not going anywhere. For the last 7 years, you mentioned that I've been an executive director for school development and evaluation. I spend time in our schools, and I spend time on our highways and roads. It's very important for the district office to be present in our community, and you will see physically this superintendent out and about in our community an awful lot, listening to people, listening to teachers, listening to students.
Tell me your number one goal for your first 90 days in office.
Can I go 100 days instead of 90 days?
I'll be generous and give you
Thank you very much.
100 days.
I think our community is looking for some trust and faith in our school system. And my plans are to assemble a team that will bring back the trust in our school system. I'm going to work on that extensively. I think the trust is based on communication and open communication and two-way communication. As I've already said, you're going to hear me listening a lot in our community. You're going to hear me communicating a lot. And I think our schools are going to, our community is once again going to have faith and trust in our schools.
Mr. Tomyn, thanks for joining us today, and good luck in just a few weeks.
Thank you very much, sir.
Well, for one morning each year, hundreds of adults hit our classrooms in every elementary school in Marion County. Why? The Altrusa Read-In. The annual event stresses the importance of reading and showing great literacy skills. And as Chadwick Pierce shows us, Altrusa's tradition has been around longer than many of our schools have.
As volunteers begin to work their way into Fessenden Elementary for the annual Altrusa Read-In, there are warm pleasantries.
Hello, how are you? I'm doing good. Good to see you.
And breakfast snacks offered. But this isn't the first read-in at this historic school.
The Altrusa Read-In here is every year. About 3 years ago, Ms. Cunningham decided, of course she is the conduit for getting Altrusa started in Marion County. But at Fessenden, we always had trouble getting readers to come out here. And she decided this was a historic school. She was going to take Fessenden under her wing and make sure we had readers every year.
Volunteer readers have been going out to schools for 25 years in Marion County because of what Juanita Cunningham learned a long time ago.
And conversations with different people, I learned a lot of people didn't even know what was going on in the public schools. And I felt that was a way to get them into the schools so they could actually see what goes on. The wonderful experiences that are provided for students in the public schools, hoping that we would get better support.
Getting that support wasn't easy at first.
It was on my mind to see what we could do to include the community in the schools. So I thought of coming up with a program where we would invite community people to come into the schools, to use my 5 senses to observe something creepy. That was the birth of the read-in.
The public participates in these read-ins because of what they can see from doing it.
One of our parents actually came up today, and she was a reader, Miss Brown, and she stopped me and pulled me to the side, and she says, I can tell you've made a difference with the children here, because when we got to the classroom, all of the kids were ready, all of the kids were excited, and they even said, Dr. DeWee says we need to act like this because she knows reading is important. So that made me feel good coming from a parent, because you never know what you're going to say to a child that's going to impact them. And so this year, our focus is reading.
What the future holds for the Altrusa Read-In isn't a typical expansion.
We cannot say because children didn't, or a school didn't do well, that it had anything to do with the principal and teachers. That's not so. It has a whole lot to do with what parents provide. So hopefully the read-in is expanded to the point that we encourage parents to become part of their children's education.
The local Altrusa Club is not alone. Each year, Altrusa holds read-ins all around the world. Well, today's students enjoy what many people would consider to be luxuries when they were growing up: air conditioning, classroom technology, even hot meals and cold drinking water. But not so long ago, though, things were quite different, especially for the African American community. The Silver River Museum right here in Ocala is home to a relic from that community of days gone by. It's a one-room schoolhouse that one of our own school board members attended as a young boy. Joe Hartley takes us along as Bobby James goes back to class in a very familiar place.
This is how it used to be. My teacher, Miss Hale, would stand on that porch right there, and she would ring this bell. This is where it all began for me. The first formal education began in this room.
And education continues, decades later, on the grounds of the Silver River Museum. After some restoration work, the one-room schoolhouse Bobby James attended as a child is being used to teach a new generation of children.
We thought about which grade level would best benefit from using it, and needless to say, pretty much every grade level would, but since we already had 4th and 5th grade students coming out for other programs, we looked at the other grade levels, and the first graders actually, about half of their year is based on past and present, and so that was a perfect fit for that schoolhouse.
Just like having a World War II veteran come talk about his experiences will always beat reading about them in a book, having someone who actually took classes in the schoolhouse speak to the children provides a much better insight.
One of the standards, social studies standards for students, is the difference between a primary and a secondary resource, and Bobby James, being a primary resource, is an excellent example for the students to learn about what it was like back during that time period.
You know, I could sit there and talk to you guys about something, but let's get you all involved. Let's ask some questions that y'all want to know.
This school is different from our school.
It is very different from your school.
We had, as our pilot program, first grade teachers from 8th Street Elementary come out, and Bobby James did come out and speak to those students, so they had that special experience of actually listening to him.
There were no bells and whistles, other than the literal one on the teacher's desk, and no fancy technology. But education then is essentially the same as it is today.
When we look at the building, we look at the fact that we have air-conditioned buildings, we look at the fact that you have all the technology in the world. If you look around in this room, you will find very little modern-day technology. But we were taught the same basic principle, 2 + 2 is 4. We were taught to read, to write, to add and subtract. And this is what it is in comparison to what we do today. The fundamentals are basically the same.
And that solid base is really all you need.
My younger brother just passed away, and he was a professor at Tennessee State University. He had a doctorate degree, and it all started from this little building right here. You see, he was sitting in one of these chairs as well. It's just amazing that what we did was so little, but we achieved so much. Okay, that means the school is over, guys.
No doubt that was a memorable experience, not just for Mr. James, but also those students in his class that day. And you may not realize the gem we have right here in the Silver River Museum. It's home to everything from a Cracker Village and archaeological museum to nature trails and an outdoor science center for our students. And then, of course, there's the Silver River, a unique experience in and of itself. Well, each month we introduce you to an employee who loves their job with our district, and this month is no exception. We head west to Denellen High School. That's where Joan Marenco works. Here is why she loves her job in her very own words.
I came here in 2008 after the units were reduced. We made a few changes. We set up a huge fiction section. We introduced a lot of graphic novels to the students, and they responded wonderfully. We had over like 800 checkouts almost that first year once we brought them in. It's like their safe haven. They feel comfortable coming in and talking about their life, and just seem to enjoy the safety of the library as well. The kids today filter through way more than what we had to do when we were kids, because we might have to go to an academic library where right now that's on the internet. And so trying to help them filter through to find good resources and do good searching on the internet is key. We try to help students individually try to find a book that fits them perfectly with their interest. Sometimes it's starting students to love reading through the magazines, and sometimes it's through the graphic novels, and then sometimes it's just talking a little bit about their life. The other thing I try to do is treat my library like it was my business, and would I be a successful businesswoman? Would I be able to provide for my family? And so we're taking that and trying to market what's best. I do love my job. Every day is a challenge, and every day I want to be able to go home and put my head on the pillow and say that I was able to help a child.
And Joan, we're proud to have you on staff and recognize the impact that you have on our students and staff members alike, so thanks. Well, someone else with a big impact is our very own superintendent, Mr. Jim Yancey, and he's here to share some important information with parents and students.
Hi, we're here today at Howard Middle School. Behind me you can see our brand new facade that's built on the new administration building. And on the other end of campus we've got a brand new cafeteria along with several other renovations that have taken place in the last year or so. If you haven't seen it, I encourage you to come out and take a look at it. I'm here today specifically for a Pinwheels for Peace celebration, which is part of our International Baccalaureate program that all of our students here at Howard Middle School participate in. The culminating activity today will be all of the students planting their pinwheel out by the fence, and on that pinwheel that they've each individually designed could either be artwork, some poetry, or their thoughts on why peace is important. I know you're not here, but I'm certainly going to be here and excited about this event. There'll be some parents here today to take a look at what they're doing at Howard Middle School, and so we're excited about having them here as well. For the rest of the parents, I hope you'll pay attention in the month of October as we end our current first 9 weeks, and report cards should be out around Halloween. So it's trick or treat for kids with report cards. They should be in your hands around Halloween, and I hope that you had a chance to look at the progress reports which have already come out this year. And of course you can access your child's grades online at any time and see how they're doing as well. One final reminder, remember November 6th is voting day, and I hope that each and every one of you will get out and vote. You've still got some important races on there, and besides the President of the United States, the one that really impacts us locally will be the Superintendent of Schools. So please get out and vote on November 6th. They need your support. Thank you, and have a great day.
Thanks, Mr. Yancey. Next month, he will share his last segment with us as superintendent. As well, thank you for joining us today. We hope you have a better understanding of our school district after this show today. And remember, November 6th is Election Day, so it's important to get out and vote and make your opinion count. Finally, parents, you know what I'm about to say. Remember to be there for your child every day. Thanks for watching.